friendship between Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg has to be one of the most unlikeliest partnerships that you could ever imagine. Quote, when you work with someone like Snoop, it's like having a sidekick, Stewart once told People magazine. That's why all comedians have sidekicks and bands, because it loosens them up and it lets them be freer. Snoop is my freedom. And in 2016, Snoop told The Hollywood Reporter that Stewart is, quote, his homegirl, and that, quote, they have a special bond that goes way back. Now, their friendship began in 2008 over a pot of mashed potatoes, which Snoop Dogg had come on to Martha's daytime show to help prepare. But it bloomed when they sat side by side at Justin Bieber's 2015 Comedy Central roast. What started as an unlikely seating arrangement became a genuine friendship and a successful partnership that nobody saw coming. And if you doubt that, go back and look at the dressage event at the 2024 Paris Olympics. You'll see Martha and Snoop sitting in their equestrian best, watching it together. But think about it. A lifestyle mogul known for perfectionism and elegance, and a rapper known for his, let's say, organic medicinal methods and his laid-back West Coast vibe. On paper, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But sometimes, the most unlikely people find themselves drawn together in genuine community. And when that happens, when diverse people unite around a common purpose, something absolutely beautiful and lasting can emerge. And the same principle of unlikely unity creating impact is what we see today at the national park we're visiting. Mesa Verde National Park in southwest Colorado is an ancient community of dwellings built into the side of a cliff. And it tells a remarkable story about what happens when community is built with a common purpose. You see, around 1,400 years ago, the Puebloan people built their lives in the cliffside. And here's what's remarkable about that community. They didn't just share walls with their neighbors, they shared resources and skills. Some were farmers, others potters, some bakers, some made clothing, and others made tools. And for over 700 years, yes, think about that, 700 years, almost 3 times longer than the United States itself has existed, they called Mesa Verde home, thriving together in community. We know that it was fruitful because so much of it remains today, still standing strong after all of these centuries. But here's the thing. A fruitful community isn't easy when you live on top of your neighbors like in Mesa Verde. And it isn't easy when the community is the church. The early Christian community faced the same challenges that we do today. In fact, Peter writes his first epistle to a Christian community that was trying to figure out, what does it mean to be the church? That is, a community that was brought together of people from vastly different backgrounds, just like Martha and Snoop, just like the Puebloan people at Mesa Verde. In the first century, there were not many places where people of different social classes, different racial groups, or faith traditions would meet and gather. And yet, the appeal of Christ and the gospel reached people from all over the spectrum of life, which meant that people from all walks of life suddenly found themselves thrust together in a community in the newly developing church. So, how do you make that work? How do you build a community that lasts? Well, Peter has some ideas, and he shares them in this letter. In the passage that we heard today, he gives a basic guide to understanding life in community. It attempts to answer the question, How do we live in fellowship with others as believers? Peter knew this was crucial because persecution of the early church was growing. It wasn't always easy to be called Christian or to belong to a community of believers. So Peter wanted them to strengthen their bond with one another so they could withstand anything, and I mean anything, that might try to pull them apart. And he begins with this foundation. Community life begins and ends with love. Yes, love. Verse 8 reads, above all, love each other deeply. This, my friends, is what guides the church, even today. This is what drives every interaction with another believer. This is what the church is all about. That little 4-letter word, love. But the thing is, Peter's realistic. He gets it. He's seen a thing or two. And so even when you are centered on loving others and bringing people together, well, we all know there's bound to be issues. And Peter knew this even 2,000 years ago. It's not a new problem for people to disagree in church. Does that shock you? I don't know if that would shock you. But that's why Peter starts with, above all else, love. Because as verse 8 continues, love covers a multitude of sins. Well, we definitely need to cover a multitude of sins with love. Why? Well, because we're all sinners. Shockingly, none of us is perfect. None of us are right all the time. None of us make all the right decisions. And Peter reminds those earliest believers that love is essential, because it is only with love that we are able to look past all of the imperfections and be the church together. In Christian relationships, we should not hold on to other people's offenses against them, but we should treat one another with continuing love and care. So how do we do this practically? How do we love community? How do we treat each other and others with continuing care? Well, Peter gives us 3 concrete ways. And in the first, he says, we serve others with our gifts. Quote, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. We love others by using the gifts that God has given us to serve. So let me give you a beautiful example of this, which is coming up. Light the Way, our friends who do the outdoor worship nights. They are bringing a tent revival to the Sunset Country Farm just down the road on Meridian. And they're going to do it for 24 hours from October 4th to 5th. There are going to be worship teams, solo worship artists, and maybe even an open worship jam session. And guess what? Surprise! Bethlehem is going to be there and to participate. We're going to once again bring our mobile sensory zone, and I'm going to go and be part of a 4-pastor joint sermon on Saturday night at 6:30. And that following Sunday, the revival is going to continue and be part of Valparaiso Baptist Fall Festival. But moreover, other nonprofit and ministry friends are going to set up booths and share about their ministry and mission. This, my friends, is exactly what Peter is talking about. Different churches coming together, people using their various gifts, worship leaders, preachers, organizers, those who serve through various ministries, those who provide food and hospitality. Everyone bringing their gifts to serve the larger community. This is the church using their gifts to serve one another and the world around them. And remember, every single believer has gifts to use in the community. Now, all of our gifts are different, and some are found in prayer, and some in teaching, some in administration or leading worship. And the church grows and it flourishes when people use their gifts to love one another. Our gifts are not just for us to hold on to for ourselves, but they are given so that we can serve others. Our gifts are for the community. Our gifts are the ways that we show one another God's love. Now, second, we practice hospitality. Throughout this passage, Peter emphasizes welcoming others, sharing what we have, and creating space for people to belong. This means opening our doors, our tables, and our hearts to be both neighbors and strangers with others. And third, we speak love. Even when we come together with the single goal of serving, it can be really tempting to speak down or to speak poorly of those who are different from us, who value different things from us. But remember what Peter says just after what we heard today in verse 11. He says, if anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. They should speak as one who speaks the words of God. And to be honest, my friends, this may be the absolute hardest way for us to show love. Words have power to breathe life, and they have the power to breathe death. Which is why Peter wants the early church to remember to speak the words of God in love. I mean, Peter might as well have said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. My friends, sometimes we as a church need a reminder of this too. We need to remember the power of our words. Are we speaking love to build up our community? Or are we making snide remarks and using our words to tear one another down? This applies not only to the words we speak face to face, but also the words that we post online, the things that we share on social media, the comments that we make out there, the ones in the church parking lot. If it is something that comes from us, it should come from love, or it shouldn't come out at all. So why does this matter so much? Well, Peter once again reminds us that when we do these things, it's so that in all things, God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. So we don't just love one another above all else through hospitality, service, and our words because it is good for community. We do it because it brings honor and praise to God. When we love each other well, when we welcome others in, when we serve with our God-given gifts, when we speak love to others, we are praising God. Thousands of people visit the homes of the Puebloan people because they are amazed that these brick buildings are still standing after almost 1,000 years. Mesa Verde National Park reminds us that communities have the opportunity to leave a lasting impact on the world when the community is built with a common purpose. Our little church here in Chesterton is a community that has the ability to leave a lasting impact on our town and on our world. It is when we remember and when we practice that we are built with the common purpose of love that we are able to do that. So let me leave you once again with a challenge this week. What would it look like for us as we continue to rebuild community life with love above all else? Start small. Pick one person this week to show unexpected hospitality to. Identify one gift that you have and use it to serve someone else. Choose your words carefully for 7 days and see what happens. What would hospitality look like in your daily life? How could you use your gifts to serve someone else this week? What would it look like if we spoke to one another even when, especially when, we disagree? When we do this faithfully, it would look like a church that glorified God in all that they did. A community so strong, so loving, so united in purpose that its impact would be felt for generations to come. Just like those ancient dwellings carved into the cliffs of Mesa Verde. Just like Martha and Snoop discovered, the most unlikely communities can create the most beautiful and lasting partnerships when they're built on a foundation of genuine care and genuine purpose. How much more can we accomplish when our common purpose is the love of Christ?